The Bible says you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Jesus said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. The truth is not something. The truth is someone. That someone is Jesus Christ. And when you know him, you have the truth, and you walk in the truth, and you joy in the truth, and you rejoice with truth that is unspeakable and unshakable, because Christ is the solid rock.
Hello everybody, good morning to you wherever you are, and thank you very much for joining me on the third part of Islam, the religion of peace. Now, I left you in the last episode or video where we just showed sort of news reports and things like that with recent terrorist attacks. As we have been told time and time again that Islam is a religion of peace. There is a recent question that's been asked on social media, and it's most probably rehashed from an old question, and that is, in the Second World War, when the Third Reich were massacring Jews left, right and centre, and apart from the fact the Grand Mufti in what was called Palestine, or Syria Philistina, or basically just before it became it was Mandate Palestine really, in Israel, the Grand Mufti was actually having nice little chats with Adolf Hitler on best ways to kill the Jews. And even though that the Jews were being slaughtered in their millions, and Third Reich Germany and very, very increasingly fascist turning Europe was following the Nazi line, there were still very brave people who actually fought for the rights of Jews, hid Jews and helped them get away. Now the question that's being asked now is, if that's the case, why is not one single Gazan helped the Jews, as in the hostages now? Why has not one single Gazan taken the $5 million bounty or reward to hand over one single hostage? These are a group of people that have lived in nothing but squalor, even though billions upon billions of dollars worth of money goes into their little strip of land every year by the world. And these people are basically being kept as almost like a second-class citizen within their own sort of culture. The funny thing is that when you think about it, yes, indeed, absolutely nothing has come out from the Gazans to help any of the Jews. Why? It's because they are fulfilling a jihad, and that is why. If you don't follow jihadwatch.org by Dr. Robert Spencer, I do suggest you do that very, very quickly. It has got a lot of information on there. And we'll just take a look at just a few pointers. Just a very few. These are only the reports that have been from about 2 days ago. So I'll read them on here, but I'll put up maybe like something out here with the headline and what else have you. 26th of February 2025, a French imam by the name of Hassan Benzad has basically stated that women do not have the right to say no. In the made-up hadith by Bukhari, basically we have a sort of hadith from the fictitious prophet stating that if a husband calls his wife to bed to have sexual relationships and she refuses and causes him to sleep in anger, the angels will curse her till the morning. And a quote by Ibn Majah in 1853, and by him whose hand lies my life, a woman cannot carry out the right of her lord till she carries out the right of her husband. And if he asks her to surrender herself, basically to have sexual intercourse, she should not refuse him even if she is on a camel's saddle. So, there you go. Subjugation and basic dominance of women. Does that sound like a religion of peace to you? This shows a very dangerous aspect to the mutation of jihad. Now, jihad used to be an offensive jihad back in the times of the rightly guided caliphs and what else have you, all the way right up to basically the Ottoman Empire. And what you actually had was a jihad on the offensive, basically attacking people left, right and centre, subjugating their lands, destroying their places of worship, trading people in slave markets, trading women in sex slave markets, and basically just massacring people. That's throughout the whole of the last 1,400 years history of Islam. And that all comes from the majority of it being Muslim sources. The actual aspect here is that jihad is now becoming a stealth-like jihad, because people are too scared to be labelled that dreaded I word, Islamophobic, and therefore the Muslims are jumping all over this. Now, Europe and the UK does seem to be on a massive self-destruct issue with the amount of Muslims that they are letting in. As we've recently seen, the most common name to be given to a boy in the UK is now Muhammad. And you can see many videos where Muslims are saying to basically the indigenous British people that basically we now own this country. And you can full well believe it. London is now known as Londonistan, which is, you know, a bit of tongue-in-cheek from some people, but actually quite a sad, sorry state of affairs. The issue is that in the Quran and the teachings of Islam and the standard Islamic narrative, Muslims are to basically prioritise each other over any of the infidels or anybody else. When you have people who choose dhimmitude, which is basically the jizya tax or the humiliation tax, they pay a much higher tax rate than everybody else to fund the Islamic country that they are now living in, or that was changed or basically stolen from their own country. Because make no mistake, every single Muslim country apart from Arabia has not started as, well, not even Arabia actually, has not started as Islamic, and it has been made to be Islamic right through Northern Africa and in the Middle East. Now, the dhimmitude or the dhimmis are basically people that have to pay the high tax, and they have to wear certain things. They did all the way through history. They would have to wear certain colours and certain headdresses, and they would not be allowed to be in a position higher than a Muslim. And there has recently been a London imam basically extolling the virtues of dhimmitude and the fact that Muslims will be in control of or non-believers or infidels, and therefore that they will be made dhimmis and they will have to pay the high tax. And basically whenever on a Friday night, as this odious creature stated, on a Friday night when Abdul, whatever he called this fictional character, would actually then not want to go home and get in trouble with his wife, so he'd knock on John's door. John would have to let him in. He would sleep in John's bed, John's wife and John would be sleeping on the floor. And that's what you do with dhimmis. And he was basically going about things like that. And there is a video. There was a young lad who basically looked at this and did a critique of it. So you can find it online. But the thing is that the jihad by stealth is coming in on the case of not of an offensive jihad, not a defensive jihad, but a jihad of hiding behind Islamophobia. And it's one of the most dangerous forms of jihad, because as Robert Spencer did rightfully state in his book, and I might have said this before, the proponents of jihad are the very victims of it, because people are so quick to not want to be labelled Islamophobic they are allowing Muslims to basically get away with making so many demands and not doing the right thing. Take a look at this video.
400 counter-terrorism police, 13 raids and 5 teenagers now before the courts, charged with planning or preparing to commit a terrorist act.
We will allege that these individuals adhere to a religiously motivated violent extremist ideology.
Now, an alliance of Islamic groups is calling for an immediate inquiry into the processes that led to the raids.
The lack of evidence pointing to a concrete threat or plan among these youths, as noted by senior police officials, calls into question both the necessity and the manner of these operations.
The groups also singled out ASIO head Mike Burgess, accusing him of using charged language.
Sunni violent extremism poses the greatest religiously motivated extremist threat in Australia.
They want the term religiously motivated terrorism removed from Australia's terrorism laws.
So every country actually has a vested interest to basically tackle terrorism. Australia is no different. We've only got what is it again? It was in Sydney, and it was the ISIS attack in the cafe. To just remember that. Now the thing is that instead of condemning the fact that these boys or these teenagers, 5 teenagers or how many there were, who were actually arrested under anti-terror legislation, the local Muslim groups or the Australian Muslim groups are basically voicing their outrage and demanding that religion is taken out of terrorism. They only do this because they know if they can get what Obama gave them when he was in the White House, if he can get the aspect of religion removed, then the Muslims will have a free reign of continuing jihad against the West, because you won't be able to legislate or basically act against it in a legislative form. It's very dangerous. Take a look at this. Now, this is a Conservative MP by the name of Rupert Lowe, and in the UK he basically voiced his outrage at the disgusting humiliation of the poor little Bibas children and the unknown Gazan woman who was actually deposited instead of Shiri Bibas's body. And he basically asked exactly the same of what Donald Trump and the Trump administration are demanding, and that is that if you have any foreign students who are inciting unrest or violence or terrorism or pro-terrorism or pro-Hamas, they are to be deported. Of course, the union, the Muslim Students' Union in the UK are actually trying to fight this proposal. And again, now basically leading on to the Trump. If you take a look at this, we have the Muslim students all over the US are outraged and cry Islamophobia after President Trump signed an executive order allowing the deportation of foreign students who express support for Muslim terrorists of Hamas or Hezbollah. And so basically, again, you've got the Muslim bodies demanding that this is not going to happen and that they should by right be able to support terrorism. Going back to Jihad Watch. In Germany, a Muslim migrant from Syria has smashed the windows of 245 cars, beat an elderly woman and had legal weapons at home. Now, this Syrian would not be deported, even though he has created such devastation and havoc. That is because of the self-destruction policy that Germany seems to have. The UK, again, on the 26th of February, it was reported, UK police officer says police had not planned to arrest the Quran burner, but senior leadership pressured them to do so. Now, basically what you've got is you've got somebody who bought his own copy of the Quran and he burnt it in a silent protest. I believe it was outside a mosque when it was closed. Now, the police were called and they were originally not going to do anything about it because he bought the book himself and it was therefore his property. But the leadership of the Metropolitan Police then decided, nope, you've got to arrest him. Now, the thing is that from the same story, the man who burnt the Quran in London was actually knifed or attacked. And that Muslim was arrested. Now that Muslim was then allowed out on bail, whilst the man who burnt the Quran was remanded in custody. Is this fair? Still in London, let's take a look at this video. Here we have, in London, once again, a Jewish restaurant owner under siege. This was just after the 7th of October, and this was a Muslim basically attacking the bloke's vehicle and then his shop front. Islam, the religion of peace. Here we have a terrible situation happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where 70 Christians were found beheaded by the local Muslim militias. Not much is known about this in the world, unfortunately, but then again, as the old saying goes, no Jews, no news. And here we have two odious, filthy, disgusting individuals. Who could ever forget these two disgusting individuals? Basically, the two excuses of nurses from New South Wales, again in Australia. Now, the thing is that as we can see here, we know exactly what happened. The video went viral. These individuals were stating that they would no way treat any Israeli, and basically they would like to kill Israelis. That went viral and they lost their jobs. Now, the local Muslim community, if they were actually in a religion of peace, would condemn these two, basically stating everything about them being wrong and against what they stand for. Let's take a look at this very short clip in the video.
Double standards. That's how Senator Fatima Payman has labelled the treatment of two Bankstown nurses filmed bragging about refusing to treat Israeli patients. This as police continue to investigate any possible charges over the vile video almost a week after it went viral.
They've apologised, they have been punished. What is the end goal here?
Senator Fatima Payman, Senator, Member of Parliament Senator Fatima Payman, has basically come to the aid of these people that are very anti-Semitic Jew haters. Religion of peace.
لماذا ينجبون أعدادا كبيرة من البنات والبنين؟ يعني كان الرد جميل، الرد جميل. نحن ننجب هؤلاء بكثرة لندفعهم حتى للموت.
هذه طرفة أرويها لك عن جد.
Wasn't it a wonderful thing, the fact that Muslims overpopulate the world because they want them to be jihadi martyrs? Religion of peace. There we go, in Tehran, Iran, where if your headscarf or your hijab or whatever is actually out of place and you can see some element of hair, well, there you go. You get ripped off the streets by the, they were like a religious squad or something like that. Goodness knows what will happen to you. They're mostly absolutely beaten black and blue, but that's conjecture on my part. But then again, just because somebody's not observing the way that people should dress, they get that in Iran. It's not the Iranians' fault, by the way. The Iranians are a wonderful people. It's just their regime, who practice the religion of peace.
I'm here with Sarah Idan, Miss Universe Iraq 2017. Can you tell my followers, please, the short version of your story?
What happened is, so I was representing Iraq in Miss Universe pageant, and I took a picture with Miss Israel that only said peace and love from Miss Iraq and Miss Israel, and because of that, my family had to leave the country. They got death threats, and I'm not allowed to go back to Iraq.
In that short clip, we've seen Miss Iraq from 2017 basically state the fact that her family had to escape Iraq because she was videoed or she was photographed or whatever with her arms around Miss Israel stating, "We just want peace." Islam, the religion of peace.
يا كلاب والله لا ندعس عليكم يا كلاب يا شباب يا عم بالراحه
In that short clip, as you can see, around about 4 terrified young girls surrounded by a bunch of jihadi scumbags from Gaza practicing the religion of peace. There we go, somebody else anti-Semitic with the name of Youssef. Well, that's not going to be, you know, an outer Mongolian name, is it? Practicing the religion of peace. There you go. The Yemen Houthis. Allahu Akbar, death to America, death to Israel, curse to the Jews, victory to Islam. The religion of peace. And there you go. So that is the actual head camera, you know, the GoPro camera view or whatever they were using at the time of the jihadis from Gaza. Now, make no mistake, that woman was hiding underneath her desk and she was shot, and you can hear her wailing in agony. It's a guttural wail. She's got several blokes armed with, you know, machine guns, and then you hear that one shot when she's actually put out of her misery. Make no mistake that Islam is not a religion, and it is certainly not peaceful. Am I saying that all Muslims are such as, you know, to be, you know, practitioners of evil and stuff? No, I'm not. I'm not saying that in the slightest. But I do agree with what Musab Youssef basically stated. If a Muslim is not willing to undertake jihad and not willing to close ranks, not willing to subjugate the infidel to dimitude and so on and so forth, then they are basically not Muslim. Simple and as easy as that. Just like, even though he was a member of the Nazi party, Oskar Schindler was not a Nazi. The thing is that in this day and age where you can be labelled Islamophobic for even discussing anything about Islam, and people are too frightened of that, it's about time the world realised and woke up and smelled the coffee. Islam is not a religion of peace. There are so many videos out there right now that you can watch where you can actually see this, and you can even read it in the Hadiths and the Quran, which basically explain exactly what Muslims and Islam, what's expected of Muslims and what Islam is all about. Do not ever be hoodwinked. I could carry on, but I'm going to have to stop here because this video is most likely gone on a bit too long, and basically we have got so many other videos to do. So everybody have a very good day, and I'll catch you at the next one. Please like, subscribe, share, and what else have you. Thank you very much.